It's good to see the Fantastic Film Festival back in Australia, screening at the Lido and Ritz cinemas in Melbourne and Sydney, April 21st to the 6th of May. And it's always a pleasure to speak to the festival director, Hudson Sowada. Hudson, welcome again to Movie Metropolis.
Thanks so much. It's the pleasure was all mine, Peter. Thanks.
Always good to talk to you. And first of all, for my audiences, it might be good just to reiterate what the concept is behind the Fantastic Film Festival.
Yeah, so we're really looking at the films that sit in the cross section between cult genre and art house cinema, really looking for films questioning the status quo, challenging conventional, I guess, forms and expressions and style and aesthetic. So really looking at films that are unlike anything else, put to screen, or really pushing things forward in an exciting new way. And just always have the element of surprise. You're going to go to a screening and see something that's going to either freak you out or give you an audio sensory experience that you unlikely haven't had in that same kind of way. And I guess there's some of the things that we're keeping in mind with our program each year, and we're really excited by the scope of those experiences we have on offer this year.
Excellent. Yeah, it's really quite interesting, the range of films that you have, and yes, many of them are so challenging that it's great to see cinema that's not always the usual sedate, typical, predictable sort of pathway.
Well, yeah, I think it's what people kind of want as well when they go. A lot of the time they would go to a cinema, they want to feel like they've had a new experience, or that their money is giving them something unique and special, and not something that you can just go sit on a couch and experience. There's like an intent and ideas, and so that's something that they're really passionate about, and that we've had a great response to so far in our 3 years of running this event.
Excellent stuff. Now, you've got 22 films programmed this year from a number of different countries. What were some of the challenges you faced this year in finding appropriate films?
Yeah, I mean, each year has its own unique challenges, like when we were programming through the carnage of last year and the year before, and everybody was just trying to figure out their system, or figure out if films were playing in cinemas anymore, or if they were going online, or how that would look. And we're committed to in physical screening, so made it very clear how we were going to operate and work with people on their films then. But this year, it's now that things have gotten a little bit more in a natural rhythm. Everybody kind of knows what this year is probably going to look like for the most part. It was much easier to go out there and see the material and have open conversations with people and expectations about when and where and how it's going to get screened. But I think there's a lot of in Australia as well. There was a lot of the distributors really getting their act together, and films were like kind of coming into cinemas really quickly without much warning. So the films that we've got this year, most of them are dealt with on international, I guess it's the best way to explain this. A lot of the films that we have in this year's program they're real proper festival independent spirited films, and they're not films kind of rep by the big studios. Each year we wanted to try and bring in more mainstream appeal, and we found that a little bit harder this year to try and get the buy-in and the mainstream buy-in from the distributors. I think there was some, that they're trying to get their material to in the way that the timing just didn't work out on a few things, which was always a challenge for the program. But we're really stoked with the energy and the real uniqueness of the films that we could get in this year. If that answers your question, I'm trying to kind of bring it back around. Sorry.
I fully understand. I've dealt with distribution and with programming festivals in the past. I know exactly the challenges that you face, and absolutely understand, and I know how to work.
And we sorry to jump in there, and I have things that I really, those I really wanted to always grow upon the diversity and the inclusivity and the different voices and the range of voices. And as hard as I might try to do that, there are certain things outside of my ability to affect, and that is always something, always a fight that I'm battling. But either way, I'm super proud of the on-screen voices and diversity that we have in here. But there's always room to improve. Always room to improve. Yeah.
Look, I absolutely understand. The business is not an easy one to navigate. So well done that you have got 22 films that are worthy of screening. And I noticed the opening night film, which I noticed is also a midnight screening, which is really interesting. But I think the film's getting a release afterwards, The Northman.
Yeah. So there's something that's just absolutely magical about those midnight moments, when you're something that when you go beyond that unholy hour of midnight and in a cinema with that many people, and it doesn't happen very, very regularly, those midnight screenings. And we think it's the ultimate way to experience The Northman, Robert Edgar's highly anticipated new Viking epic. It's going to be, that the energy in that space is just going to be completely, electrifying and really a special way to experience the film. So, we think it's really the perfect way to kick the festival off with that kind of enthusiasm and that kind of scale and that special hour. And it was really a perfect match for us.
Okay, and of course Robert Egger, he did The Lighthouse, if I'm not mistaken, which you've previously screened. So a really out there filmmaker, which I thought, this could be really impressive.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's his most ambitious film to date. There's no denying that, and the cast is just prolific as well, with Bjork and oh my God, my mind is a little bit blank today. Bjork and
Skarsgård?
Anna Joy Taylor and
Alexander Skarsgård.
Ethan Hawke, Alexander Skarsgård, Bjork, Willem Dafoe, Nicole Kidman, of course, all the some of the most prolific performers of our time. So it's going to be a real fantastic film, no doubt about it.
It certainly is. It will certainly live up to the title of the film festival. A fantastic film for the festival. Okay, looking forward to that. Now, a film I haven't seen, but I've heard a lot about, and I know it's gone through a number of iterations and so on, a 1981 film called Possession, which is Isabella Gianni's is in the film, as well as Sam Neill. I've heard so much about this. I'm really looking forward to seeing it. It's now been completely restored, I gather.
Yeah, that's right. So this is the 4K restoration of the film, and it's really one of those titles that has just completely exploded in cult, a clout in the last few years and become a true seminal classic of the genre. It's harrowing and disturbing in incredibly unique and surprising and visceral ways. Just the performances are totally unhinged, and the camera work is singular in its style and approach and claustrophobic kind of energy, with these unbelievable one takes and vivid close-ups of people fully freaking out and as their lives are kind of falling apart, and this surreal kind of cosmic horror of what's happening kind of behind closed doors as well, just kind of oozing throughout the context of the screen. And then there's also this political anxiety as well, based in the location that it's in, around the Berlin Wall and the tension of that time and place. So really it's got the whole package, and we're really excited by having the premiere of the 4K screening. So yeah, it's really stands by everything that the festival is about, and we couldn't be more happy to be screening that in 4K glory.
Wow, I read that Isabel won an award, or a few awards, for her acting at Cannes and various other places. And Sam must have shot this shortly after My Brilliant Career, which and it's not one he often talks about in his filmography.
Yeah, I mean, it was watching it again. He's just so little in this movie, and it's great to see him in so off the rails in this film. Like, yeah, it was really awesome to see him in this role, and yeah, everybody absolutely is giving it their 100% all and are fully in this hellscape together. So yeah, and there's been a recent Blu-rays released as well, which have been incredibly popular, and it's kind of cultural significance is only growing, and influences seems to grow over time. So yeah, I think it's a really important part of the program and what we're saying this year, and I think people are going to really love watching it all together in the audience.
Okay, very good. And I notice you're screening another horror film. I'm being tongue-in-cheek now. The Full Monty, the 25th, the 25th anniversary of that, and which of course was a very good social commentary film and so on. But it's nice to celebrate, I suppose, 25 years now that film has been released.
Yeah, it's a proper absolute gem of a film, nominated for 4 Oscars back in 1997, I think, losing to Titanic. So I think that's the one I've lost for. So, but either way, it's like, so a bit of background for the screening. The screening of The Full Monty is a fully nude screening, so audiences come to the session and completely derobe themselves and watch the film in the spirit of the film. For those who don't know, it's about a group of off-the-job steel mill workers who decide that maybe the best way to make a buck is to become male strippers, and it's about them coming together and dealing with their own anxieties and stresses of their lives together, and how their camaraderie has a really healing process for them all, and deals with everything from male body anxiety, relationships, depression, suicide, family stability, and many other. There's a queer narrative as well in there too, and really captures all of these ideas and puts it in a really heartfelt and powerful and super hilarious package. So yeah, going to be an unreal and memorable screening watching that fully in the nude. I'm going to be there, introduce the film nude as well. So yeah, not one to miss out if you want a special cinematic experience, for sure.
Okay, I was partly right saying it's a horror film. It's actually the horror is in the audience.
So we did a nude screening last year, and it was a massive success. It went so well. The energy was wholesome and supportive, and the space. We spent a lot of time thinking about how we can make it, safe, hygienic, enjoyable, and really special. And everything worked incredibly well, and everybody was really on their best behavior. And it's a really safe space. In a dark room, when you have to look forwards and be in a secure space as well. It's really the best place to, if you're going to be naked anywhere in a cinema, it's probably one of the best places you could do it, other than your own home. So.
And just watch where you place popcorn.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Okay, very good. I'm sure there'll be news coverage for that screening. That would be very, very interesting indeed. And it will only be second to Will Smith slapping Chris Rock, but that's another story. All right. Now, speaking of films that are perhaps not necessarily made now, a film called New York Ninja, which I've now read a bit about, which was shot originally in 1984, I read, and has been completed only last year. That film has had quite an interesting journey.
Yeah, it's absolutely fascinating. It's a true time capsule of the time and the place. And this film was shot. So the director John Liu came over to America. He's a martial arts actor and came over to America to make his dream film. And he came over and made this bombastic ninja action movie kind of exploitation film that ran out of money in post, and it was never finished. And then last year, the negatives were dug up from basement somewhere, and without a script and without any sound. And last year they've gone through and re-edited it and revoiced the entire production and finished the film for the first time. And it follows a news reporter whose wife is violently murdered by the gangs of New York. The New York is just plagued with crime, and he dons a white ninja corps and goes out and strikes vengeance on all the evildoers in New York. And it's a absolutely bombastic and over the top, crazy roller skating ninja with a banging 80s soundtrack kind of energy, and just is a absolute jaw-dropping experience. And seeing this time capsule brought to life in this vivid 4K restoration and remaster and finished in this way is really stunning. So very excited to be premiering that screening as our closing night. Really one of the best ways to end the festivities, for sure. Very exciting.
Sounds great. Looking forward to seeing it. Now, I noticed that you've got a Norwegian film there, and the director of The Worst Person in the World, which is such a terrific film, is involved in The Innocents.
Yeah, so The Innocents is really one of the premiere films on the genre film circuit at the moment internationally. It really is an incredibly powerful film that follows a group of young, they're about 12-year-old kids, and they realize they have special powers. One of them can move things with their mind, another can have some form of telekinetic communication with people. And as they're honing their skills, the line between the childhood innocence and playfulness, but also an ability to be a macabre curiosity, perhaps, or a indifference, kind of a meanness that children have an ability to enact, plays itself out in their abilities and becomes quite dangerous, and is about how they go about navigating the danger that their powers present themselves and to each other and the community at large, and is a very beautiful and powerful film with some incredible actors and first-time actors and non-actors, all putting on a fantastic show. So yeah, very powerful film and absolutely captivating. So yeah, very proud to have that in the program this year, and I think it's had some incredible feedback from around the world, and I think fits right within what we're trying to say with our program this year, for sure.
Good stuff. Okay, sounds great. Now, I noticed you've got an unusual Greek film, which has collage animation or black and white. It sounds quite intriguing. The Timekeepers of Eternity.
When I came across this film, I was absolutely jaw-dropped by the sheer scale and creative audacity of it. Really, the idea is there was a TV series called The Langoliers, which was based off the Stephen King book, and this Greek animator has printed out every single frame of this 3-hour TV series. So that's like over 80,000 printouts of each frame of this TV series. And what he's done is he's re-edited it down to 1 hour and used the actual form of the paper. So with crinks and tears and rips and layers, has remixed the entire series into this beautiful, succinct 1 hour experience where the literal form of the medium expresses the internal anxiety or the emotional core of each scene, where a character might be having a psychotic breakdown and his face is crinkled and melting and his memories are spilling out of his head as the pages are ripping apart from each other. And it's a vivid film, and really, and it, the TV series itself was okay, but the form that this takes, it really blows the performances out and puts it up to a level of extreme camp and over the top energy, which is a sight to behold. So yeah, it's a profound and really exciting piece of remix art, and absolutely stoked to have that presented in this film context. So yeah, wonderful project. Timekeepers of Eternity, that one's called.
Yeah. Yep, absolutely. It's I like films that challenge form as well as content as well. So that sounds really interesting. Now, you've got a number of American films, and of course, what will be a film festival without assholes? That's one of the films, and actors, of course. But and you might want to discuss some of those. But the one that I was drawn to is one called "We're All Going to the World's Fair," which sounds quite intriguing.
We're All Going to the World's Fair is probably one of my favorite films to come out of the last 2 years. It has scared me more than any film that I've seen in recent memory. Has truly spooked me to my core. I was watching it with my partner and she was unable to finish the film. So, I mean, it's probably a great time to explain what the hell is going on, and We're Going to the World's Fair. But if you picture it as it's a digital version of a challenge where there's this young girl who's sitting alone in her apartment in some lonely American town in the middle of nowhere, and she engages with a digital challenge where she says, I want to go to the world 3 times, draws blood and watches a series of videos online, and it's supposed to have psychological effects on the person who plays the game and change the way they experience the world. But really and the way that this game works online is that other people play it and you play along with people and you pretend that everybody's kind of part of this challenge and you post videos online about how it's affecting you. But after this young girl does this challenge, she really starts to go through serious psychological decay as her grasp on reality and her life starts to unravel as she's doing her video journals, and you really get this sense of impending doom is slowly falling upon her and her life. And yeah, it's an incredible portrait of this young girl's life and the isolation and loneliness that she experiences in the digital age, and her need for finding community and connection in the abyss of the quiet parts of the internet, places where the YouTube videos with 1 or 2 views, and the strange people and the strange energy that cause people to post those material and just try and put a hand out for somebody to hold. So yeah, it's a powerful film and really haunting, no doubt about it. So yeah, We're Going to the World's Fair is a really special film. Yeah, okay. We're one of the Sundance breakouts of last year, and think our audience are absolutely going to adore this film.
Sounds good, and as do a lot of the other low budget films you've got, and you've even got one that is another sort of a nun's story, so to speak, Agnes, which looks intriguing.
Yeah, so I feel like there's a real nunsploitation renaissance happening right now with Paul Verhoeven and Benedetta, and there was another one that I saw coming up recently. But I think there's a real enthusiasm for nuns coming back into style, and Agnes is no exception. It's by American really prolific auteur Mickey Reese, who we screened one of his films back in 2020 called Climate of the Hunter, and this is his and he's made almost 30 films from memory, in feature films in America, and this is his most prolific I guess accomplished work to date. And the setup is pretty straightforward. It's a clergy of nuns. There's an exorcism is needed. One of the nuns is possessed by a demon, and then as the priests come to perform this exorcism, nothing is really quite what it seems, and the film at about the halfway point completely flips its expectations on its head and becomes really a story of how the institutionalized religious experience has a lasting effect on those even outside of the congregation, and as everybody's kind of dealing with the aftermath of the exorcism. And yeah, it's a really refreshing I guess spin on exorcism canon. And yeah, Mickey Reese is got an incredible sense of humor and style and wit that is really unrivaled, I think, by his contemporaries in the independent American scene.
Okay. Such an eclectic range of films. It's as always. And I noticed you've got a film from South Africa called Good Madam.
Yeah, Good Madam is just one of the ultimate haunted house story, in the same way that, well, it's a horror satire that follows a mother and her daughter who are forced to move in with their estranged mother, and their mother is the housekeeper of a large estate in Cape Town, and she's quietly and diligently serving this bedridden good madam, and who we never really quite see, and the extent of her servitude is really unnerving. And then as the mother daughter relationship starts to try and be healed, and an evil starts to lurk within the house of the walls, as they're unable to overcome the trauma of their growing up together. So they use the haunted house kind of setup as a way to explore the deep, long-lasting intergenerational trauma of colonialization of Cape Town, and the idea that even after the apartheid, there's still these institutionalized versions of oppression that the people in that place are still dealing with to this day. And but it's also got a great sense of humor as well to it, in the way that most great horror satires do, in the likes of Jordan Peele. It uses its genre and its style to tell stories that both make you laugh and freak you out as well. So it's a fantastic spooky haunted house film, and really stoked to have that voice in the program this year.
Very good, very good. Now, I know a number of film festivals are grappling with the issue of releasing films from Russia, with, of course, the whole situation. And I noticed the disclaimer that you have on the website about that you obviously don't support what Russia's doing and so on. But you've got two films there from Russia, The Execution, and in particular Petrov's Flu, by a really well-respected Russian filmmaker, which I won't pronounce, but I know his work. So it's interesting that you've programmed those two films.
Yeah, we thought a lot about the statement that having these films in would, or having them out, would make, and we feel very strongly that the voice of these films are voices that are deserving of having the screen time that we can offer them. Both of these artists, Petrov's Flu and The Execution, are incredibly angry, frustrated, and powerful, and really I guess films with incredible intent that are an important part of the conversation of Russia and where it's come from and where it's going and where it currently is. Petrov's Flu, to start with, it's a Russia, and Petrov's Flu is a pure hellscape, as this timely disease is kind of wreaking havoc in this Russian kind of near future society, as society's kind of falling apart and people are just monsters to each other. Everybody's kind of got their own agendas, and there's this kind of this cosmic indifference to everybody, and everyone else is really second-rate citizens, and you can really feel this burning anger and jadedness to Russia and Petrov's Flu, and the rise in house arrest when he wrote the screenplay for this film, and you can kind of tell that he has some serious bones to pick with the Russian state and the state of the society over there. So really an important part of the Russian conversation, Petrov's Flu, and I think it's a great one to have in the program this year. No denying that. That's one. And The Execution is a hard-boiled murder mystery set in the 80s, which was a really tumultuous time in Russia with you know, that doesn't need to be said. And the film looks at the institutionalized violence and oppression of that time, and how it continues over the you know, the film takes place over 20 years or so, and how that energy still permeates through Russia through all that time period. And the society, the people are just looking for purpose in a, you know, an undifferent and uncaring state. So yeah, both films are important parts of the conversation of Russia, and we think they deserve their place to be screened as part of our festival and other festivals as well.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, fully agree with you. And that's just a tip of the iceberg in terms, we haven't mentioned every film, but before we conclude, Hudson, are there any other films playing at the Fantastic Film Festival that you would like to highlight?
Absolutely. So I'll quickly run through a couple that really should not be missed. After Blue, a high concept, high fashion, queer science fiction epic set on a distant planet. Follows a mother to catch the notorious killer Kate Bush. High fashion, yeah, as I said, film where they're armed with Gucci rifles and have to wander through a. I don't know if you can hear me. I'm getting a little bit of a. Can you hear me there?
Yes, you're coming through okay, even though the image is not
okay,
so stable. But keep going. You're fine.
Yeah. So they have to hunt down Kate Bush in this toxic, oozing, vile planet as they're navigating these lusty inhabitants that are kind of lurking through the forest and have to overcome the obstacles ahead of them. And it's a vivid kind of film with visuals that are unlike anything else I've seen before. And yeah, After Blue really is not one to be missed. That one is a fantastic project. We've talked about, yeah, the Russian films, which were awesome. And Strawberry Mansion, one of the best American independent projects I've seen in a very long time. It follows a dream auditor. His job is to go into people's dreams and make sure they're not using infringing on people's intellectual property, you know, making sure that people are paying taxes on their dreams. And then he goes and finds audits an aging artist's dreams, and realizes that there's this lost world in there that he's never been able to experience before, and falls in love and realizes that his reality isn't quite what he thought it was. Yeah, and as the visuals become more and more surreal and absurd, it's really a great portrait of what it means to create art and really film as well. So that one's great. And we're also going beyond film, and we've got a music video blind date where we've had filmmakers and musicians come together to create music videos that we're watching together in cinema for the first time. And we have a experimental live performance with visuals as well, which mixes the best of live performance and experimental media as well for audio sensory in cinema experience with Female Wizard, which is a great special addition to the program this year. And yeah, I mean, if any of that conversation that we've just had speaks the cinematic language of your listeners, I'm sure there's all sorts of special delights to find in there, whether you're interested in science fiction, horror, experimental, or just the plain weird and wonderful. There's lots to sink your teeth into here.
There certainly is. It sounds like an excellent program. And just before we finish, Hudson, because we're recording this interview the day after the Oscars, I just wanted to ask you your opinion of the events that happen in the Oscars and also some of the awards themselves.
Yeah, of course. I mean, the by events we're obviously talking about the act of violence that happened on live television, and there's absolutely no condoning that kind of behavior. I just am not here for that kind of expression of authority on, in that space. You can be rightfully offended, but I don't think that's the place to make that kind of statement. But yeah, wish everybody involved in that that they're doing okay afterwards. But as far as the awards go, I mean, the Drive My Car was a massive win, and that was a really exciting one to see such a a long Japanese film that's found such a great audience in Australia. It's been doing so well at the box office, and it's great that it's getting a lot of love there. That was close to my heart. So seeing that pull that off was a great statement, I think, and really one of the successes that I think is worthy of celebrating. Yeah, I think I'll probably leave it at that with the Oscars. Yeah.
Perfectly fine. We've been speaking to Hudson Sowada, who is the director of the Fantastic Film Festival, April 21st to May the 6th at the Lido Cinema in Melbourne and the Ritz Cinema in Sydney. And as always, a pleasure talking to you, Hudson. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Peter. Thanks for having me on the show again.
All the best.
All the best.